Imagine this. You've bought a $50 detox tea, $100 yoga membership, and $200 skincare routine. All of this is promising you to help and transform your life. But instead of feeling better, you feel stuck. You feel guilty. You feel stuck from thinking that is this wellness industry just paving off? Is this wellness industry just mooching off one of your insecurities? Today, let's break down the traps of the wellness industry and how to reclaim your peace and spirit without breaking your bank or spirit. Wellness is supposed to make us feel good, but in today's time, it's just feeling like a lot of pressure. The wellness industry is valued at around $4 trillion and it continues to grow. But at what cost? For many people, the definition of wellness has turned into spending a lot of money, going through periods of guilt, going through periods of unmet needs by yourself, through yourself, and through all the tools that are at hand. Let's dive into the problems and, most importantly, the solutions. Wellness as a status symbol. Wellness culture has almost become synonymous with spending a lot of money. Expensive superfoods, expensive retreats in Italy, that magnesium that you're spending $50 on, the skincare routine that you need to get sure to make sure that it's supple and clean and healthy. While you are doing yoga, even if you're just a beginner, you're buying $150 yoga leggings or the very specialized, personalized $200 yoga mat. So since when has spending a lot of money become equal to being healthy? Does paying more actually make you healthier? These yoga retreats in Bali, in the south of Italy, of around $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Then there are yoga retreats of just single people. Then there are yoga retreats of just people wanting to get together. All of these yoga retreats that are happening all across the world promise to make you feel better, to find balance. But how many of us can really spend all that money and go to Bali or go to Italy to find balance? Green juices are costing around $10 to $15. They're not even that nutritious. It would be perhaps easier or better, more nutritious for you to just eat an apple of not even half or quarter the price. So I'm from India. I am a trained yoga teacher and my mom's been teaching since the past 20 years. And so every time I go, I'm living in Fuerteventura, which is in the Canary Islands. So every time now, as we know, yoga is on the spike. Ayurveda is on the spike. Everyone wants to get into yoga. Everyone wants to understand what is Ayurveda. It's like the buzzword of today. So whenever I go to the beach or whenever I go around in Fuerteventura, or when I look at the things that I'm reading, there's always this yoga retreat where they're charging around $8,000 to $10,000, and over there it's just 6 to 7 days, and over there it's included where you are just sitting with yourself and you are watching movies. You are being taught yoga, which is more about flexibility than literally going within yourself. They are teaching things like meditation, in which you are asked to scream and shout. You are being charged to walk barefoot on the sand and then go towards the side of the volcanoes and scream and shout. I understand each retreat is designed for different needs and different purposes, but where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line of knowing that many people are vulnerable, many people actually need that yoga retreat for becoming better or feeling better or finding that peace, or many people actually need that Ayurvedic product that people are selling without any knowledge of what Ayurveda is or where these ingredients actually come from, and selling it to people who are vulnerable? At what cost are you selling your product by making someone vulnerable even more vulnerable? Maybe an alternative could be to promote accessible wellness initiatives. If your yoga class is in the south of Italy, beautiful. If you've got a retreat in the south of Bali, beautiful. But maybe to make these practices more accessible to people, start that yoga class on a donation basis. Let people come and pay what they want to pay. Let people do that yoga class that you're doing at your studio or at the beach, but instead of charging a fixed fee, maybe start with a donation-based class, maybe once a week. I'm not saying all the days, but maybe once a week. So while you're doing a donation-based class, a lot of people can have access to it, can actually benefit from it. Isn't that the whole point of yoga? That it reaches a wide range of people and it benefits everyone? Charge people on the other days, but at least keep one day on donation. Wellness doesn't have to be luxury. It could mean those 15-minute walks that you're doing. It does not mean that you have to have that $20 smoothie that is going to give you all the energy in the world. It could be just sipping on that water throughout the day. Don't fall into the traps of all these marketed products of how much better you're going to become, how better your wellness regime is going to be. Your wellness regime is ultimately up to you. So you set what you want to put into your body and what you want to take around you. The anxiety of perfectionism in wellness. Wellness apps and trackers are designed to keep us up to date, designed to keep us on the go, designed to keep us on track. But what happens when you miss a day? What happens when you miss that one day of yoga on your app? What happens when you miss that one day of meditation on your app? What happens when you don't go for a run on that day? Maybe you're having a bad day. Maybe you're not just feeling in your body that you want to do that today. Many apps send notifications back to back to back to back that takes you on a guilt trip because you've missed that day today. A mindfulness app notification. You haven't meditated in 3 days. Don't miss your streak. Meditate now. When you're reading that message, how are you feeling? Are you feeling more at ease because you are going to meditate? Or are you feeling a little more stressed than you were before because you haven't meditated in 3 days and now you feel guilty? And now you feel like, oh my God, I've missed my streak. I need to sit and meditate now for 15 minutes. So when you're meditating in that frame of mind for 15 minutes, there is no benefit because you're doing it out of stress, out of guilt, instead of meditating for the real reason that you should be meditating, to feel a little better. Journaling, which should be feeling like it's therapeutic, it becomes like a chore which is Instagram worthy, like an art project that is displayed for everyone to see. Wellness doesn't have to be perfect. If you missed that one day of meditation, if you missed that one day of Pilates, if you missed that one day of yoga, if you were not able to go for a jog the other day because you were tired after a long day at work, it's okay. You can make it up on another day. Listen to your body. Don't listen to the apps. Self-care should be about flexibility and not rigid rules. Prioritize what works for you. No one knows, the apps don't know how your body works. The n number of classes that you're signing up for, those teachers don't know how your mind works. Maybe listen to yourself and listen to your body first of what it really needs. If today you've had a long day and you feel like you're not going to be able to go for that Pilates class, it's okay. Sit at home and just journal, or maybe just don't do anything. You can cover up that Pilates class, you can cover up that yoga class on another day. It's okay. Today your body's not feeling like it. Go another day. You're going to make up for it. The yoga mat is not running anywhere. The Pilates class is not running anywhere. The applications are not running everywhere. But your piece is. So focus on that instead of listening to all the other things that you've surrounded yourself to make sure that you are peaceful. The pseudoscience problem. The wellness industry thrives on buzzwords like detox, cleanse, chakras, aligning your chakras, activating your kundalini, cacao rituals that are going to activate your past karmas and release all your generational traumas. These words are often meaningless and very misguided. Detox teas are usually marketed for weight loss, but they actually cause dehydration, nutrient loss, and digestive issues. Are they marketing that as well? Goop's and famous Jade eggs claimed to improve vaginal health, but were debunked by medical experts as potentially harmful. Someone who's claiming that she can activate your kundalini by charging you $200 at the beach just because she's dressed up as a fairy does not mean she's going to activate your kundalini. Activating your kundalini is not like activating your Netflix account. It needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of years. It needs a lot of practice. And it needs a legit guru with a lot of experience. So that girl at the beach that you're seeing dressed like a fairy with a nice tiara, looking at you and charging you $200 to activate your kundalini so all your chakras are aligned, no. Don't pay for that money. She's not going to activate your kundalini. The only thing that she's going to be activating is a third bank account where she's going to be putting in all these funds of kundalini that you're paying for. The tantra class that you're going to, where you're paying $80 to go to, where they say when you are coming for this class, your chakras are going to be so aligned with your entire sensual body and with your partner that your relationships will thrive and your relationship with yourself will bloom. Fantastic. It's a very good market. It's a very good ad to promote, sellable. But Tantra In that Tantra class, when the teacher is just feeding you up and touching you in an inappropriate manner where you're not even realizing what's happening over here, which is actually like an assault, then no, that is not Tantra. That is something else, which is not healthy, and it needs a huge one arm distance. Do your research. Stick to practices that are backed by science. Stick to practices that are backed by research. Follow classes, take classes for people who are certified. And most importantly, just follow a normal, regular exercise routine with a balanced diet and eating good food, healthy food, and drinking lots of water. Not to forget a good sleep hygiene. Remember, your body already has a detox system. It's called your liver and kidneys. The comparison trap of social media. Social media glorifies wellness as a lifestyle. You have all these influencers posting the perfect smoothie bowls, perfect those immaculate yoga routines with their aloe yoga $200 yoga pants. But don't you realize that it's also curated? Are they really doing the yoga behind that very aesthetically curated yoga picture? Are they really eating that smoothie bowl every day behind that perfectly angled photo of the smoothie? TikTok's That Girl trend shows an idealized version of wellness, waking up at 5 a.m., journaling, doing Pilates, and drinking matcha. But what happens if you can't wake up early or hate matcha? You feel like you're falling. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate. Follow people that are more authentic, that you resonate with, that you can relate to, that also share their struggle. Wellness isn't Instagram worthy. It's all about what makes you feel good, whether that's eating pizza one day throughout the week or taking a nap. Whatever makes you feel good is what wellness is all about. But obviously, we have to set boundaries to that as well. So know how your body is responding, know how your mind is responding. These are the only two things that you need to focus on. Every time you're eating something, know how your body is feeling. Every time you're hanging out with someone, every time you're listening to a podcast, every time you're looking at that yoga class, every time you're signing up to a class or you're going to a workshop of Kundalini, of chakras, of yoga, of buying that detox tea, whatever. After you're doing that, just sit with yourself and see how you feel in your body and mind. If you feel good, well, good. If you are not feeling good, then rethink it. Decision fatigue in the wellness industry. Too many options, too much stress. Should you do keto, vegan, or paleo? Pilates, CrossFit, or bar? The endless options can lead to fatigue, decision fatigue, and overwhelming yourself with choices. A study found that people who faced too many wellness options often gave up entirely because they didn't know which path was best. Start with one or two habits daily. That could be doable. Simply choose one or two habits to start with. Drinking more water or stretching daily. When you are continuing to do that, slowly keep adding more. Start with what feels easy and enjoyable. Don't make wellness so complicated. The global essential oil market in 2020 was valued at $18.6 billion, and it looks to be increasing, which of course means that there's a huge demand for it. But is there a real connection between big beauty and big oil? Crystals, I'm not going to get into if it works or not, but what I'm really going to get into, the actual crystals that come from the earth. Instead of creating a reverence for the earth, the industrialization of crystals is making us question, causing us to harm it. Celebrities, influencers keep telling us how we should be using crystals. It purifies us, it heals us, it creates great energies. Great. But do you know that crystals also come from a lot of mining, which is actually a bit of a problem? Payal Sampath of the non-profit organization Earthworks explains that healing crystals are mined in places like Myanmar and the Democratic Republic of Congo, where mineral extraction is linked to severe human rights violation and environmental harm. In Afghanistan, Global Witness uncovered the Taliban earns up to $20 million a year from the country's lapis mines. And to make it worse, it's virtually impossible to tackle or track the ethical choices in these markets because it's completely unregulated. All these crystal-rich retailers, there's no way to trace their origin. Sage and Palo Santo plants are dried to use for burning as part of an ancient practice to cleanse the energy in a space. Their popularity has risen a lot in the past years. You can find sage bundles almost in every market, in every shop, in every supermarket as well. The agarbattis that we call it, the incense, the sage or palo santo is meant to create a good, you'll see a lot of these influencers on TikTok taking the palo santo and like just cleansing their new house and cleansing their energy. This is another under-regulated industry, over harvesting and unethical choices. Palo Santo was traditionally harvested by farmers who only collected fallen branches and twigs. Now these sacred trees are being illegally cut down in an attempt to keep up with the demand. It has actually been added to the Convention on International Trade's Endangered Species list, while sage, it seems, is headed for a very similar fate. Cultural appropriation. Wellness trends are not limited to just environmental damage, it also leads to a lot of cultural appropriation. Yoga is a Hindu practice that originated in India. Cacao had their origins in Mesoamerican traditions. Tea ceremonies began in China and Japan. Cultural appropriation is harmful, and it can also be considered as a form of neo-colonization, stolen all the resources from the global south, and now it seems to be doing the same thing spiritually. When the British came to India, they colonized India. Their aim was to convert everything to Christianity, so they outlawed yoga and Ayurveda. In the Americas, Europe did the same. They displaced the native populations to be able to control over them a little better. They made their culture, languages, practices completely illegal. Now, in a twist of fate, white people are buying these practices and even selling them as a revelation. The yoga industry is to reach, yoga that came from India, is to reach around $215 million in 2025. It would surely make one of the country's greatest exports. And yet 270 million Indians live below the poverty line. The wealth being created is not heading its way back to where it came from. It's just filling the pockets of a lot of white businessmen. Many of these names of yoga asanas, which have been, made easier, called sugarcane or cat or cow, maybe just learn the language. Maybe just use the words in which it's been used and originated and created from. Maybe namaste is something that we don't really usually say when we are conducting a yoga class. Maybe when you are saying namaste in your yoga class, understand the repercussions of it. Understand what is your intention behind using the word namaste in that. People don't do that in India in yoga classes. It's not meant to be used in a yoga class at all. The other day when I was at the beach, a lot of yoga classes being conducted by a lot of white women, a lot of yoga classes being conducted at the beach. Constantly I get asked, what is your spiritual name? And I said, what do you mean? They're like, what is your spiritual name? You're from India. You should be having a spiritual name. I have a spiritual name. It's called Gita. And she was a Polish girl. No, we don't have spiritual names. We have just normal names. Taking back wellness. Some tips to take your power back. Reframe wellness as self-care. It's not about fixing yourself. It's about nurturing yourself. Focus on what's free. Breathing freely, deeply walking, mindfully being present, journaling by yourself and not the Instagram. Small little wellness tools can really take you a long way. Question wellness products. Before buying something, ask yourself, do I really need this? Will this really benefit me? Will it genuinely help me? Don't stop your wellness rituals. If it creates a sense of calm, makes you feel better, please keep going at it. You have to make sure that you're going at it, you're continuing what makes you feel good. True wellness is not just individual, it is collective. To be well, we must foster reciprocal relationships with one another and with the earth. We need to move away from practices that just seek to take and hoard from us instead of really giving back to everyone collectively. When you are taking something from the earth or from one culture, what are you doing to give it back? Maybe we need to reflect a little bit of that. Make your practices a little sustainable. Instead of buying sage from a huge corporation, grow your own sage. When you're buying the Palo Santo, make sure that you're buying it from an ethical source and you're being mindful of the indigenous communities. When you're buying those crystals, make sure that you're not falling into the marketing trap and be truthful to yourself. Are you really feeling good after doing all those practices? Are you really feeling spiritual after doing all those practices, spiritual and sacred as it's meant to be? Or you're just doing it for an aesthetic? Be mindful of where your money is going. Balance online and offline. Take regular digital detox. Disconnect yourself for a good amount of time to be able to come back and use the online world for your better. The wellness industry doesn't own self-care. You do. Wellness is messy, imperfect, and deeply personal. You choose what defines wellness for you. It's not a competition or a luxury. It's about what makes you feel good. Let's stop chasing the next big trend and define what feels healthy for your mind and body.